Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Selvi, I'm the first debater, and the third motion today is this House believes that feminist movement should aggressively oppose the K-pop industry. Okay, the first, I do not support the track and K-pop industry in the form of objectification of women. For example, women must look white, slim, or have certain physical standards such as being physically fit or physically beautiful because basically every woman has her own uniqueness. The second, the K-pop industry is not only about someone having to look cheerful or having to look beautiful, having to look thin, but moreover to give women more choice in their beauty standards so as to make women more aggressive in meeting their beauty standards, which can interfere with their mental health. The third, we can simplify the standard that women should fall into standards that deal with feminist interests based on the current situation, that people keep the depictions of women as cheerful or healthy. Women should be like this because that is the only way for them to be portrayed as someone the good one. Therefore, they will not dare to challenge this kind of standards because, firstly, they want to protect women, and secondly, they want to protect followers who only feel confident in the existence of certain standards set by the industry, and maybe because their followers think that the time when I can meet the standards, that's when society can easily discriminate against me or can easily exclude me from society, or maybe I don't have the space to start a relationship with someone because basically men also rely on these standards. Okay, the fifth, why the K-pop industry is bad and why this feminist movement needs to be examined and acted to on first. This is like I said, this will create pressure for a woman to fit into a certain standard while women are unique, so there are standards within themselves. The sixth, the feminist movement needs to take action because the existence of this trend will only create greater space for discrimination against one another. First, this trend will create discrimination against your relationship with someone, and you will say you are either going to have a meaningful relationship with your boyfriend or just want to create a relationship with people they think they want. The seventh, the standard also not only works for the community but also feels insecure towards women when they want to integrate into a certain community. When they think that I'm not up to their standards, then they will feel pressured because they cannot follow that community. And eight, when I want to join a Western community, while Westerners are most likely to look white, tall, and slim, so this will set a standard for me that I have to be physically fit and physically beautiful to look like them, to fit into their community. Then this will create more pressure on someone, like they will feel stressed or they will feel excluded from society just because they can beat the standard, just because there is insecurity that comes from themselves. The need, this feminist movement wants to gain their following by showing people and women, especially those that are not currently too progressive but not too conservative, maybe because they basically reject or oppose this standard by they don't think that there is anyone who can make it happen, the idea there. However, there is no platform that can talk about us and speak about them. And the last, this causes many women to feel insecure when participating in activities related to their physique, even though the standard of women's beautiful is not derived from the physical but also comes from the attitude, mindset, and education. Okay, thank you. Next, the for the debaters. the second debater.
I am as swipe a government for motion 3. Such as today, we know about boy band EXO, who also wears makeup which shows the capacity of other men and other non-binary people to always express themselves in other forms. So, I think the beauty standards, even though we don't necessarily have discrimination on their part, will be very detrimental because we will blame it on the one hand but on our side. We assume that liberation and diversity are constantly judged by the parameters and propose, and now that this beauty disease is because we have internalized is not necessarily because there is a trend at the end of the second day of all trade K-pop industry as we see that K-pop industry is having its first wave. Korean culture is intertwined with entertainment with economic benefits so that it will affect tourism, film, and dramas as being forced to really see the image as a calm woman. For example, we think that the glorification of women from the sort of objectification of women in the K-pop industry is actually harming women themselves as followers of the movement. These feminists, so if they want to talk about self-agency, this is the self-actualization of people who want to show themselves with a certain standard of beauty that they have. For example, we think that this actually harms more people in women in that gender status itself is correct, because glorification causes women to actually place very high standards on beauty in the K-pop industry itself in the second response, thinking about what they say and how there is cultural information. This causes many women to feel insecure when going to participate in activities related to their physique, even though the standard of female beauty does only come from the physical, but also comes from the mindset and education, the spirit of nationalism that can fade following the lifestyle of the public figure and the people there. We should also know the background of our role models or idols. But again, we must remain more naturalistic by loving local culture more. Limit yourself. Many children now idolize him so much that it's too so much. So there are those who glorify his idol. Not a few children are willing to spend their money and time only for their idols. Do not always use imported goods. At least we must continue to use local goods so as not to be embracing foreign culture. As students, especially as the younger generation, we should indeed be more selective and filter the culture that enter Indonesia. Not only Korean culture, but also foreign culture such as India culture, Western culture, and the others. And what kind of impact will be given, we must also filter or apply to ourselves, take the negative side as a lesson and then illustration for us, for use to be able to keep it away. Feminist movement is another true social movement. For example, LGBT, our country think that women when we opposite this trend which is the cable industry which is detrimental to women themselves as followers of our industry. We think that we can action to get the attention of other social movements that have become our allies when we oppose certain trends that are detrimental to our followers, which is our movement can actually benefit and gain traction from action social movement we oppose aggressively. We want to state openly that we don't support the track and keep up industry in the form of objectification of women. For example, women should look like this or have a certain physique. Standards like you have to be body fit or have to be physically beautiful, because these are the standards that everyone is relying on nowadays. So you also want to mobilize all agencies to put more standards in the keyboard industry itself, wants to show people that the industry is keeping up. It's not just about you have to look cheerful or you have to look beautiful, you have to look skinny, but moreover, you want to call this age to give more option for this woman to look disappointing, and therefore